Imagine using your phone 1 year from today. Will it still feel smooth? Will it still feel fast? Or will it feel tired? One UI 8.5 is not designed for today. It's designed for that future version of you. Before watching, please do not forget to subscribe to our channel so that you can get notified on daily tech updates. Let's do a small experiment today on Tech Gadget. Close your eyes and imagine two versions of the same Samsung phone. One is running a typical feature, heavy update that looks exciting at first but slowly becomes messy. The other is running One UI 8.5 on day one. Both feel fast. Both feel smooth. But now jump forward 6 months. The first phone starts hesitating. Animations aren't as confident. Apps sometimes open slower. The system feels heavier. The second phone, it still feels normal. Predictable. This is the real story of One UI 8.5. This update is not about making your phone feel new. It's about preventing your phone from feeling old. Samsung finally seems to understand something most companies ignore. People don't live with phones for 1 week. They live with them for years, and software has to survive that time. One UI 8.5 is built around long-term behavior, not short-term excitement. When you install it, you don't get visual shock. You get visual continuity. Everything feels familiar, and that's intentional. Your habits stay intact. Your muscle memory still works. But under the surface, the system is more disciplined. Animations are more consistent. App launches are more predictable. Background activity is more controlled. The phone feels less like it's constantly multitasking in panic, and more like it's doing the right thing at the right time. This philosophy represents a fundamental shift in how we should think about software maturity. For too long, the tech industry has been obsessed with the wow factor, the immediate, visceral reaction a user has in the first hour of using a new feature or interface. This focus on first impressions has led to a culture of constant reinvention, where every update must feel dramatically different to be considered successful. Menus are rearranged, icons are redesigned, animations are made flashier, and new modes are added simply to give reviewers something to talk about. The problem with this approach is that it treats the user's relationship with their device as a series of discrete, short-term transactions rather than a continuous, long-term partnership. It assumes that users will either upgrade to a new device within a year or become so bored with their current one that they'll crave constant novelty to stay engaged. This assumption is not only cynical, it's also fundamentally incorrect for a large and growing segment of the market. Consider the reality of smartphone ownership today. Economic pressures, environmental concerns, and simple satisfaction with current devices have led to significantly longer replacement cycles. In many markets, the average user keeps their phone for 3 years or more. During that time, they form deep habits and routines with their device. They learn its quirks, memorize its shortcuts, and build a mental model of how it works. A software update that disrupts this mental model by moving settings, changing gestures, or altering core workflows doesn't feel like an improvement. It feels like a betrayal. It forces the user to relearn a tool they thought they had mastered, creating friction and frustration at a time when they should be experiencing seamless utility. One UI 8.5 rejects this disruptive model entirely. It understands that for the user who lives with their phone for years, consistency is not a bug, it's a feature. Familiarity is not stagnation, it's comfort. By preserving the visual language and interaction patterns that users have already internalized, Samsung allows them to continue their digital lives without interruption. There's no learning curve to climb, no muscle memory to retrain. The phone simply continues to work the way it always has, but with subtle improvements happening beneath the surface. This is the essence of mature software design. It serves the user's long-term needs, not the company's short-term marketing goals. Now think about the physical reality of modern phones. They are huge, tall, heavy, and most interfaces still pretend our thumbs are magic. One UI 8.5 continues Samsung's quiet redesign of reachability. Important actions move lower. Menus require less stretching. One-handed use becomes realistic again. This is not a feature you show in ads. This is a feature you appreciate hundreds of times a day. The evolution of smartphone design over the past decade has been driven by a single, seemingly irresistible trend: bigger screens. Manufacturers have relentlessly increased display size to accommodate more content, better media consumption, and larger virtual keyboards. While these benefits are real, they have come at a significant ergonomic cost. The average human hand has not grown to match these expanding devices. As a result, users are forced into increasingly awkward positions to interact with the top half of their screens. This thumb stretch might seem like a minor inconvenience, but its effects compound over time. Every time you reach for a notification at the top of the screen, every time you try to tap a menu item in the upper corner, every time you attempt to close a tab in a browser, you are performing a gymnastic feat that strains your hand and wrist. Over the course of a day, these small strains add up to genuine physical fatigue. Over weeks and months, they can contribute to repetitive strain injuries and a general sense of discomfort that makes prolonged phone use unpleasant. Most software interfaces have ignored this physical reality, treating the entire screen as equally accessible real estate. Buttons and controls are placed based on visual symmetry or information hierarchy, with little regard for how difficult they are to reach. One UI 8.5 takes a different approach. It acknowledges that the phone is a physical object held in a human hand, and it designs accordingly. By systematically moving critical interactions, the back button, the home gesture, quick settings toggles, notification dismissal controls, into the lower third of the screen, Samsung ensures that the most frequently used functions are always within comfortable thumb range. This isn't just about convenience, it's about sustainability. A phone that is physically comfortable to use is a phone you can use for longer periods without discomfort. It reduces the cognitive load associated with device interaction, because you're not constantly thinking about how to position your hand, or whether you'll be able to reach that control. This ergonomic intelligence extends beyond just button placement. The entire interaction model has been refined to minimize unnecessary movement. Context menus appear closer to the point of interaction. Scrollable lists have larger touch targets at the bottom for easier navigation. Even the keyboard has been subtly adjusted to reduce the distance between commonly used keys and the spacebar. These changes are so subtle that you might not notice them individually, but collectively, they create a device that feels like it was designed for human hands, not for marketing photos. Customization also changes its personality here. Instead of being a playground of endless switches, it becomes a system of clear, visual, meaningful choices. Widgets are easier to control. The home screen is easier to shape. Settings feel more human. Your phone starts adapting to you instead of asking you to adapt to it. Customization has long been a double-edged sword in smartphone software. On one hand, the ability to personalize your device is deeply appealing. It allows you to make your phone truly your own, reflecting your tastes and priorities. On the other hand, too much customization can lead to decision fatigue, visual chaos, and system instability. Many Android skins, including previous versions of One UI, fell into this trap. They offered a dizzying array of options, dozens of font choices, hundreds of icon pack combinations, granular control over animation speeds, and intricate grid layout editors. While this abundance of choice sounded empowering in theory, in practice it often left users overwhelmed. They would spend hours tweaking settings, only to end up with an interface that looked unique, but felt inconsistent, and sometimes even broken. Changing one setting would have unintended consequences on another part of the system, creating a fragile house of cards experience that was more frustrating than fulfilling. One UI 8.5 represents a course correction. It doesn't remove customization, it refines it. Instead of offering every possible variable, it focuses on the choices that actually matter to most users. The settings are organized logically, with clear labels and intuitive groupings. When you adjust a setting, you see a live preview of the change, so there are no surprises. The customization options themselves have been curated to ensure they work harmoniously together. For example, If you choose a larger font size, the system automatically adjusts spacing and touch targets to maintain usability. If you select a dark theme, it intelligently adapts accent colors to preserve visual hierarchy and readability. Widgets have been completely reimagined to be more flexible and resilient. Adding, resizing, and rearranging them is now a fluid, visual process that happens directly on the home screen without needing to dive into separate configuration menus. The result is a customization system that feels empowering rather than overwhelming. You can make your phone reflect your personality, but you never feel like you're fighting against the system or risking its stability. This is customization as it should be, a tool for personal expression that enhances the core experience rather than fragmenting it. Then there's AI, the word that currently means everything and nothing. In One UI 8.5, AI is not a show-off. It's a background worker. It learns your habits. It understands your routines. It remembers how you edit photos. It improves suggestions quietly. It doesn't interrupt you. It doesn't beg for attention. And because of that, it doesn't get annoying. This is the kind of AI that still feels smart after a year. The current state of artificial intelligence in consumer technology is, frankly, a mess. The term AI has been so thoroughly co-opted by marketing departments that it has lost almost all meaning. Every new feature, no matter how simple or mundane, is now branded as AI-powered, as if the mere presence of machine learning algorithms is a virtue in itself. This has led to a proliferation of AI features that are more performative than practical, systems that exist primarily to remind you that the company is using AI, rather than to actually improve your experience. These features often manifest as intrusive notifications, unsolicited suggestions, or flashy before and after sliders that demand your attention and validation. One UI 8.5 takes a radically different approach. Its AI is humble. It works silently in the background, observing your behavior and learning your preferences without ever demanding recognition. For instance, if you consistently edit your photos in a certain way, increasing brightness, reducing saturation, applying a specific filter, the system will gradually learn this pattern. The next time you take a similar photo, it might apply those adjustments in the editing interface, saving you time and effort. But it won't announce this to you. It won't pop up a notification saying, "Look what I did." It just does its job, and you benefit from it. Similarly, the AI learns your daily routines. If you always turn on Do Not Disturb mode at 10 p.m. and turn it off at 7 a.m., the system might eventually start suggesting this action at the right time, or even automate it entirely if you grant permission. If you frequently call your partner during your evening commute, their contact might appear more prominently in your recent calls list during those hours. These are not grand, headline-grabbing features. They are small, thoughtful touches that accumulate into a genuinely smarter, more personalized experience over time. The key difference is that this AI serves you, not the other way around. It doesn't require you to change your behavior to accommodate its capabilities. It adapts to your existing behavior, making your life slightly easier without ever getting in your way. This restraint is what makes the AI in One UI 8.5 feel sustainable. You don't get fatigued by it. You don't feel surveilled or analyzed. You just feel like your phone is a little bit more attuned to your life, in a way that's helpful but never intrusive. After a year of use, this AI hasn't become annoying or irrelevant. It has become an invisible, trusted assistant that you barely notice but would miss if it were gone. The camera experience follows the same long-term philosophy. Instead of chasing gimmicks, Samsung focuses on consistency and trust. The interface feels stable. The preview feels honest. The controls feel reliable. You stop thinking about the camera app, and that's exactly when a tool becomes truly good. In recent years, smartphone cameras have fallen victim to the same feature creep that plagues other areas of software. The quest for marketing differentiation has led manufacturers to cram their camera apps with an ever-expanding array of specialized modes: astrophotography, food mode, pet portrait mode, document scanner, AR stickers, and on and on. While some of these modes can be genuinely useful in specific scenarios, Their cumulative effect is often detrimental to the core camera experience. The main viewfinder becomes cluttered with mode selectors and toggle buttons. Switching between modes can be slow and inconsistent. Most critically, the default auto mode, the one used for the vast majority of photos, often feels like an afterthought, as if the engineering team spent all their energy on the special modes and neglected the fundamentals. One UI 8.5 reverses this trend. The camera app has been stripped back to its essentials, with a clean, focused interface that prioritizes speed and reliability. The primary shooting mode is front and center, and it has been meticulously refined to handle a wide range of real-world lighting conditions intelligently and consistently. The preview you see in the viewfinder is now a much more accurate representation of the final image you'll capture. This honesty builds trust. You're not surprised by weird color shifts, unexpected noise reduction artifacts, or aggressive HDR processing that turns your natural-looking scene into an oversaturated cartoon after you've taken the shot. The physical shutter button is responsive and tactile, and the digital controls are placed where your fingers naturally rest when holding the phone in landscape orientation. There's a sense of intentionality and craftsmanship in every element of the interface. This isn't a camera app that's trying to be everything to everyone. It's a camera app that's trying to be excellent at the things that matter most, capturing spontaneous moments quickly, reliably, and with minimal fuss. When you can trust your camera to do its job without requiring constant intervention or second guessing, you become more present in the moment you're trying to capture. You're not fiddling with settings or worrying about which mode to use. You just point, shoot, and move on. The camera becomes an extension of your eye and your memory, not a source of friction or anxiety. This is the hallmark of a truly great tool. It disappears into the task at hand, allowing you to focus on what matters rather than on the tool itself. Battery behavior is another part of this time travel story. One UI 8.5 doesn't promise miracles. It promises less damage over time, smarter background control, better app sleeping, fewer useless wake-ups, better charging behavior. Combine that with improved memory management, and your phone doesn't just stay fast, it stays comfortable. You don't think about performance. You don't fight the system. You just use your phone. Battery anxiety is one of the most pervasive and persistent stressors in modern smartphone use. We've all experienced it. That sinking feeling as you watch the battery percentage tick down during a long day away from a charger. The constant calculation of whether you'll make it through the evening. The compulsive habit of closing unused apps in a futile attempt to conserve power. Much of this anxiety stems not from insufficient battery capacity, but from unpredictable and inconsistent battery behavior. Some days your phone lasts all day with power to spare. Other days it's dead by mid-afternoon, and you can't figure out why. This inconsistency is often caused by poorly managed background activity, apps and services that wake up the processor unnecessarily, sync data far more frequently than needed, or maintain network connections when they're not actively being used. One UI 8.5 tackles this problem with a multi-pronged approach focused on efficiency and predictability. At the system level, it introduces a more aggressive and intelligent app standby mechanism. Apps that you haven't used in a while are put into a deeper sleep state, where they are prevented from running background tasks, accessing the network, or waking the device without explicit user action. This isn't a blunt instrument that breaks app functionality. It's a nuanced system that learns your usage patterns and applies restrictions intelligently. For example, a messaging app might be allowed to receive push notifications even when in standby, but a social media app might be restricted from performing background refreshes until you open it again. The system also optimizes its own maintenance tasks, like system updates, cloud backups, and cache cleaning, to run during natural idle periods, such as overnight while the phone is charging, rather than competing for resources during your active usage time. Perhaps most importantly, One UI 8.5 includes smarter charging behavior designed to preserve long-term battery health. Instead of charging to 100% as quickly as possible and then maintaining that full charge for hours. The system can learn your typical wake up time and delay the final stage of charging until just before you need to use the phone. This simple change can significantly extend the overall lifespan of the battery, ensuring that it holds a useful charge for years rather than months. The goal of all these optimizations isn't just to squeeze out an extra hour of runtime per charge. It's to make battery life predictable and reliable. When you know your phone will consistently last from morning to night under your normal usage patterns, you stop worrying about it. You stop conserving power by turning off features you actually want to use, like location services or background app refresh. You just live your life, and your phone keeps up. This predictability is a form of calm, a removal of a constant, low-level source of stress from your daily routine. And in a world that's already saturated with digital noise and distraction, that calm is an incredibly valuable commodity. Multitasking, split screen, floating windows, and Samsung DeX also benefit from this new maturity. These features no longer feel experimental. They feel dependable. You trust them. And when you trust software, you use more of what your device can actually do. For years, advanced productivity features on smartphones have existed in a kind of limbo, technically impressive, but too unreliable for everyday use. Split screen mode might crash one of the apps or fail to resize properly. Floating windows could disappear unexpectedly or interfere with other interface elements. DeX mode, which transforms your phone into a desktop-like experience when connected to a monitor, often struggled with app compatibility and peripheral support. Because of these reliability issues, most users stuck to the basic, single app at a time workflow, even on powerful flagship devices that were theoretically capable of much more. These advanced features remained the domain of tech enthusiasts and early adopters, not mainstream users. One UI 8.5 changes this equation by prioritizing stability and polish over novelty. The underlying architecture has been hardened to provide a solid foundation for these complex scenarios. Apps are now better equipped to handle the transition to split screen mode, maintaining their state and adjusting their layouts appropriately without crashing or freezing. The system provides clearer visual cues and more intuitive gestures for managing split screen sessions, making it easy to resize panes, swap apps, or exit the mode entirely. Floating windows have been made more robust and easier to control, with dedicated handles for resizing and intuitive drag and drop behavior for moving them around the screen. Most significantly, Samsung DeX has received substantial refinements that make it a genuinely viable option for light productivity tasks. App compatibility has been improved, peripheral support is more reliable, and the overall performance is smoother and more responsive. The key word here is trust. When you know that a feature will work consistently and predictably, you start to incorporate it into your regular workflow. You might keep a messaging app in a floating window while watching a tutorial video. You might use split screen to compare products while shopping online or to reference a recipe while cooking. You might connect your phone to a monitor via DeX to quickly draft an email or review a document when you don't have your laptop handy. These aren't just neat party tricks. They're practical ways to get more value out of your device and to bridge the gap between mobile and desktop computing. And they're only possible because Samsung has invested the time and resources to polish these features until they feel like a natural, integrated part of the experience, not a fragile experimental add-on. Even the small details tell the same story. Scrolling feels more natural, haptics feel more intentional, gestures feel more precise, notifications feel more organized, privacy feels clearer without becoming stressful. You are informed, not interrupted, protected, not annoyed. It is in these micro interactions, the 1,000 tiny moments that make up your daily experience with a device, that the true quality of software is revealed. Anyone can build a flashy headline feature that wows you for a few minutes. It takes real discipline, craftsmanship, and user empathy to refine the subtle, foundational elements that you interact with hundreds of times a day. Consider scrolling, for example. On many devices, scrolling feels mechanical and sterile, like you're dragging a piece of digital paper across a glass surface. On a phone running One UI 8.5, it feels organic and alive. There's a subtle momentum to it, a gentle deceleration as you lift your finger, and a satisfying, physics-based snap when you reach the end of a list or bounce off a boundary. This isn't an accident or a happy coincidence. It's the result of careful, deliberate tuning of animation curves, physics models, and input-response timing. The engineers didn't just set a scroll speed and call it a day. They iterated on the feel of scrolling until it matched the intuitive expectations of human movement. Haptic feedback has undergone a similar transformation. Instead of a generic one-size-fits-all buzz for every interaction, One UI 8.5 leverages the high-fidelity linear resonant actuator in Samsung's flagship phones to provide distinct, context-appropriate tactile responses. A soft, short pulse when you press a standard button. A sharper, more defined click when you toggle a switch. A subtle ripple when you scroll through a list. These haptics are perfectly synchronized with the visual feedback on screen, creating a powerful sense of physicality and connection that makes the interface feel more tangible and responsive. This multisensory feedback loop, where your eyes, fingers, and sense of touch all confirm the same action, reduces cognitive load and increases confidence in your interactions. Gesture recognition has also been refined for greater precision and reliability. The system is now better at distinguishing between similar inputs, like a quick swipe to go back versus a slower scroll gesture, or a long press to open a context menu versus a simple tap. This reduces accidental triggers and makes gestures feel more like a natural extension of your intent, rather than a finicky control scheme that requires perfect execution. Notifications have been reorganized to reduce visual clutter and cognitive overload. Less important alerts are intelligently grouped together, while critical ones stand out clearly with appropriate visual and haptic emphasis. You can see at a glance what truly needs your attention and what can wait, without having to parse through a wall of identical-looking alerts. Privacy and security settings have been simplified and clarified, replacing technical jargon with plain, language explanations of what each permission does and why an app might need it. You're given the information you need to make informed decisions about your data without being overwhelmed by complexity or fear-mongering. All of these details, working in concert, contribute to a profound sense of calm competence. The phone doesn't shout at you. It doesn't surprise you with unexpected behaviors or hidden menace. It just works consistently and predictably, day after day, month after month. It respects your time, your attention, and your intelligence. All of this adds up to something very rare in modern tech: a calm device. Now jump forward again. 1 year later. You pick up your phone. It still feels familiar, still feels predictable, still feels smooth. That's the real success of One UI 8.5. It doesn't try to impress you on day one. It tries to respect your time, your habits, your ownership. This is not an update for people who change phones every year. This is an update for people who live with their phones. One UI 8.5 doesn't try to make your phone feel new. It tries to make your phone stay good. And in today's smartphone world, that might be the most futuristic idea of all. To fully grasp the significance of this approach, we need to consider the broader context of the smartphone industry. For over a decade, the dominant narrative has been one of relentless, disruptive innovation. Companies have been locked in a perpetual arms race, each trying to outdo the other with the next big feature, the next radical redesign, the next paradigm-shifting capability. This cycle of constant upheaval has created a culture of planned obsolescence, not just in hardware, but in software. Users are conditioned to expect that their current device will feel outdated and inadequate within a year. Not because it has stopped working, but because the software experience has been deliberately made to feel stale or inferior compared to the latest offering. This model serves the interests of manufacturers and carriers, who profit from frequent upgrades, but it does a profound disservice to users, the environment, and the craft of software engineering itself. One UI 5 represents a conscious rejection of this unsustainable model. It is a declaration that a phone can, and should, remain a joy to use for years, not just months. It is an acknowledgement that the true measure of a software update's success is not how many headlines it generates on launch day, but how well it serves its users 18 months later. This long-term perspective has far-reaching implications. Economically, it empowers users to keep their devices longer, saving money and reducing the pressure to participate in the upgrade treadmill. Environmentally, it helps combat the growing crisis of electronic waste by extending the useful life of millions of devices. From a user experience standpoint, it fosters a deeper, more trusting relationship between people and their technology, one based on reliability and respect, not on novelty and FOMO. Moreover, this focus on longevity aligns with a more mature understanding of what technology is for. A phone is not a toy or a fashion accessory. For most people, it is an essential tool, a repository of memories, a lifeline to loved ones, a gateway to information and opportunity, a personal assistant, and a creative canvas. Treating such a vital tool as disposable, or designing its software to degrade over time, is not just wasteful, it's disrespectful to the role it plays in people's lives. One UI 8.5 treats the phone with the seriousness and care that such an important tool deserves. It is designed not for the fleeting thrill of the unboxing moment, but for the quiet, daily reality of lived experience. It is built to be a companion, not a commodity. This philosophy also reflects a more confident and secure approach to product development. Companies that rely on constant, disruptive change are often driven by insecurity. They fear that their product will be forgotten if it's not constantly in the news, that users will lose interest if they're not regularly dazzled by something new. Samsung with One UI 8.5 demonstrates the opposite. The confidence that comes from knowing your product is fundamentally sound, that its value lies in its consistent, reliable performance over time, not in its ability to generate short-term buzz. This confidence allows them to make the hard choices, the choice to say no to a flashy but unnecessary feature, the choice to prioritize invisible optimizations over visible gimmicks, the choice to maintain visual continuity, rather than chasing every passing design trend. These choices may not win awards or dominate social media feeds, but they earn something far more valuable: the long-term trust and loyalty of users. In a world saturated with digital noise, distraction and impermanence, the calm, consistent, and respectful experience offered by One UI 8.5 feels not just refreshing, but revolutionary. It is a reminder that technology's highest purpose is not to entertain or impress, but to serve, to disappear into the background of our lives and empower us to focus on what truly matters. It is an update that understands that the best technology is not the newest, but the most enduring. And for anyone who plans to keep their phone for more than a year, that understanding is the most valuable feature of all. This is Tech Gadget, and I'll see you in the next video.